Say is, well, you mentioned your E-Series. If you can tell us a little bit more about that as far as models are concerned, and what innovation does it bring to the world of routers?
So first of all, what we have is we have a whole range of products, and I'm often asked by people, well, if a router is a router is a router, why do you have different products? Because different people need different things. And what we would like to do is we would like to make sure that people are getting what they actually need for the price they will want to pay for that at that moment. So back to the training part, we are trying to train our partners as well as having self-training, what we call planograms in some of the shops, to make sure that people don't actually spend more money than they need to at that moment. You might just want to do your emails, you might just want to access the internet. You go for an E1000, you go for an E1200, it's a basic model, it's just fine for that, it gives you great quality for a good price. The moment you want to spend more time with your router, or actually with everything that the router will connect you to, you want to start streaming, you want to have video, that is going up the ladder. So it then goes all the way up to the 4000, 4200, where you get the latest and greatest. It actually is the speediest router, and was the speediest router when we introduced it, that's out there in the world. And I think what is so difficult is when we talk about it is a dual band. It is a simultaneous dual band. It has IPv6, I could throw in a lot of those words. It doesn't usually mean a lot to the end consumer. But what you can say is that it's fast. It allows you streaming. It allows you to do different things at different times because there's two bands and it's happening. I think that's what we need to bring out more, that people understand why would I want to spend that money on a router like that, and probably I need the other one down there because it's good enough for me. So that's why we have a range. All of them are really high performance product, but the performance is gradually growing depending on the product size that we have.
Okay. I think 802.11n is the current standard for Wi-Fi, and from what I know, it's fast enough to stream high definition video. Do you see much progress being made in that area now? I mean, do you think this is a standard that we're going to stick around with for a while, or do you think that's going to change soon?
I think that I've never seen this world not changing, so I would be highly surprised if this is the last I see in my career. I think that it's depending, though, on where you are in the world. And that is what makes it, I think, interesting as well as difficult once in a while. If we look into the US, in the US you will see that 3G, 4G, for instance, is not a big deal. There is a lot of different networks out there than what we find here in Europe, and specifically also in the Middle East. So what I think is going to happen is that we will see a very diverse development over time, and at this moment you see a lot of, specifically in the Middle East, we see that fiber is really sort of getting very, very popular. Meanwhile, I think that generally speaking, the technical possibilities that we have in the Middle East are actually much better than we have in some of the other regions. I think for this part of the world, I would say that 3G, 4G is probably the next thing that we are jumping to. But very honestly, I've been trying to predict what's going to happen more than 3 years out. I've been really bad at it.
It doesn't happen. Yeah, technology changes too fast.
It does change fast. However, and I think that's one of the things that we need to always take care of is, what do you really need and what could you have out there? And I think one of the things we need to do is really be careful that we are not overwhelming customers with the changes. I think what we as vendors, and probably together with you, can do a bit better is explain to people the why and the benefit, rather than the technical specs behind it, because I think that's to a certain extent overwhelming for people.
I agree. Well, just the last one for you, Flip. I used to love it. I had 2 of them. I know a lot of people. Everyone loved it. Why did you guys kill it, if you don't mind me asking?
Why did we kill it? So first of all, great product, no question about it.
Amazing.
It was really cool, and I still have it, and I still use it. But there is a lot of things that people did not think about when we actually purchased Flip. So you might remember that when we talked about Flip, we very often talked about the fact that it's actually a fantastic software that happens to have a camera in it. And one of the reasons why we actually also acquired Flip was exactly this point. The possibility to take a product that was, let's be very honest, camcorder, a category that was declining, a category that was difficult, and the Flip team managed actually to take this and bring it to a very easy to use, very, very easy to understand model. And that was basically software. So we also, I think to a certain extent, acquired the possibility to look into the software and see, can we do this magic a bit with the router? Because let's be very honest, networking is still a word that people fear. Changing your router because you could get better performance is not something that people easily do, like they do with a car, like they do with your television. And if you would look at what we also show on the booth today, which is our Cisco Connect software, that is actually what we're trying to achieve. It is really bringing the same magic to the router that it takes you 3 steps, it's there, it's intuitive, it's easy to use and easy to change. And that if you take the hardware part with Flip, I think, let's be very honest, technology is making great steps out there, and if you really look at the development of what happened to cell phones and things like that, over time it simply is a change in the technology and the hardware out there. But I would say that the basic idea of take something and make it easy to use, that's something that you'll still see in Cisco Connect.
No, I think I'll completely agree with you on the Cisco Connect part. I remember 10 years back when I bought a new router and I had to set it up. I had to know the IP address of the router, log into that with a special password, and then try to configure that. With the latest Linksys router, all I did was plug it in. It automatically wirelessly connected to it. There was no wires involved. Configured the router, and I was online. Yeah, so that's a good job. But
it shows that you are thinking really consumer as well, because it's interesting that when you talk to our technical people, they are really like, oh yeah, it works. For me, it's like I'm a real consumer as well, so I'm not techie at all. But it was like, do I really want to try it, you know, because I have a bit of a special network, and do I really want to upset it? And it's this experience that makes it worthwhile. Now the next step is to make sure that people understand it and understand that it's really true, because I think there was a lot of people telling them that it's easy to connect the router, but I think that is one of the best things we can do as a company to make sure that people understand it's as easy as upgrading something else, and it gives you so much more fun and experience out there. And I think that's what we are there for.
Thank you very much for your time.
Pleasure. Thank you.